All right, Lauren Southern, pictured here, is a conservative Canadian. I don't even know what conservative in Canada is. Like, how is that defined exactly? But anyway, she's a conservative Canadian commentator. That kind of rhymes. That kind of flows. Slash activist, journalist, slash so on and so forth. Just, from what I understand, she does news coverage of various things like the Trump, like various Trump protests and the thing in Berkeley and Antifa's shenanigans and the G20 covered the stuff going on there. She kind of tends a little towards sort of, I don't know what you could say, like gonzo journalism for my taste. Like, the whole like wading in, neck deep into the happenings to cover it kind of stuff. Which, I don't know. Teach their own. But anyway, her Patreon, she has been banned from Patreon. Her account has been shut down. And according to Patreon, they don't want her kind round there no more. Because according to them, and I will read a copy of an email that they sent to her explaining the situation. My name is Max. I am a member of the Trust and Safety team at Patreon. Max, rename your damn team, okay? I don't know. Like every time I read that, it kind of weirds me out. It's like, okay, that's kind of like, Ministry of Love kind of shit. It's just like trust and safety. The Trust and Safety team. We're here to help. Like I would prefer just like, I don't know, terms and service agreement enforcement team or something. Like I feel more comfortable knowing like them just calling it what it is, But anyway, here at Patreon, we believe in freedom of speech, mostly. We are creating a platform that empowers creators to share and debate ideas. When ideas cross into action, though, we sometimes must take a closer look at what our creators are doing with the funds they earn through Patreon. It appears you are currently raising funds in order to take part in activities that are likely to cause loss of life. We have therefore decided to remove your page from Patreon and paid out your final balance. We understand that this will come as a disappointment. Please know that we have come to this decision after a long review process and will not consider an appeal. Now, what is this about? Well, according to Lauren Southern, you can, I will link to the video in the description that she put up about this issue. This is in relation to a plan of hers to provide coverage media coverage for a group. Sorry. Ugh, fuck it, I'm not cutting that out. For a group called Defend Europe. Now, Defend Europe, I'm going to gloss over heavily because there's a lot of info here. Okay, Defend Europe basically wants to go out raise money for, and go out in a ship in the Mediterranean to rescue sort of migrants in distress because they get in like rafts and boats and like little shitty dinkies and dinghies. There we go. Shit like that, rowboats and whatever, I don't know. And they try to get across from the Libyan coast to Italy to the tune of something like 10,000 a day, roughly. And basically what Defend Europe is claiming, or what they're stating their purpose is to go out in a ship, and when these little boats, as they commonly do, get into trouble because they're not really meant for open water, they remove the migrants from the boats, they bring them aboard their boat, they then sink the little boat, to keep it from being reused for this purpose, which is against the law and which is illegal and dangerous, because like thousands of people die every year trying to do this shit. Drown trying to illegally cross into the EU. And then drop them off at the nearest not EU port. They're not specifically saying whether it's like Libya, like they're going to return them, but basically they're not going to take them to Italy, which is where they've been going recently. Now, this is actually very similar to plans that the Italian Coast Guard carries out, and that various NGOs or non-governmental organizations have been doing. The only difference is that the NGOs that come out, and I believe they rescue about a third of the people in total that make it to Italy. They round people up and they take them to Italy. And Italy's not really happy about this, but there's something like they can't really do much about it. They can't just say like, fuck off, we're not taking them because of EU regulations or something. It's complex. I'll see if I'll post some links in the description on some of the articles about this. So basically, they're doing essentially the same thing as the NGOs that are pro taking them to the EU. They're just not doing that last part. They're taking them to a different port. Basically, ideally, I guess, back where they came from. Now, nothing that I've read about them suggests that they're violent, that they're attempting to harm people, or kill anyone, or get anyone killed. And on top of that, Lauren Southern is not part of this group. She is providing coverage. And in fact, it's not actually her doing it. It's like she was evidently, from the video about it, she's going to be sending an associate to cover this. And that is, according to Patreon, activity, raising money for activity that could lead to loss of life. Even though, again, she's just providing funding for a person to cover it, not to be a part of the group, not directly funding that group in their activities, which nowhere suggests that they intend to cause loss of life. But just sending someone with them. And on top of that, if you look at Patreon's terms of service, it says that you cannot, the primary purpose of your Patreon account can't be to raise funds for groups or forums or things like that discuss or promote dangerous activities. So her account is not for this particular project. It was not for this particular project because it's gone now. It's for just news coverage in general, and this is what she's working on at the moment. So, in no way can I don't really see anything in this situation that violates Patreon's terms of service. So it seems to me, honestly, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's some info they have that I don't. But from what I've been able to find, it seems to me it could be potentially borderline, maybe, if you cock your head to one side and squint at the situation. Maybe. I don't know. And it's, oh, okay, well, fuck you. But then that's interesting that they do that to Lauren Southern, because you look at other accounts that Patreon does allow, and this one in particular that has started to gain some notoriety because of this whole debacle, is a Patreon account for a group called It's Going Down, or IGO or something like that, IGD, I don't know. It's a website, basically, a platform for revolutionaries. God. Commies, anti-fascists, anarchists, shit like that. Basically, the people who never grew out of that phase in high school and continued it on through college, where, I don't know, they read the Communist Manifesto and completely overlooked the history of the Soviet Union. which again, communism, capitalism, shit like that that's shit for another video. But anyway, they have this platform for people who want to, communicate and post articles for teaching like how to have like rebellion and take direct action and fight against the man and their jackbooted capitalist thugs and all this stuff. Yeah, because revolutions are always full of happiness and butterflies and sugar and spice and everything nice. They never turn fucking bloody, do they? The Civil War? Oh no, that revolt was, they played checkers. It was a checker tournament. That wasn't blood staining the grounds of all those fields across the country. That was, I don't know, the red checkers. The South played red. What can I say? They lost. I mean, no one actually died at the Battle of Bunker Hill. The American Revolution, that was practically a sit-in. Because, it was against the British. We were just like, fuck your tea. And they were like, you gotta pay for that. And we were like, no. And they're just, okay, we'll leave you alone. Enjoy the country. Simple as that, really. Okay, so these people, obviously, they're nothing that they do could be construed as, promoting violence or things that are going to get people injured. Like fucking Black Bloc and Antifa and all that shit. Oh, no, that's fine. But when it's a conservative who's providing news coverage to a group that they don't like, oh, well, now that violates the terms of service. It's like that video I did about, the lawsuit chick, but the person suing BLM and leadership over shootings. Link will be in the description below about that. And same deal. When it's something on the right that doesn't mesh well with what they believe in, the trust and safety team, gives it the axe. But when it's fucking anarchists and communists communicating and putting their heads together to teach and spread like rebellion and revolt against the capitalist pigs, nothing to see here. Come on. If you're gonna ban one, ban them both. Or preferably don't ban either, because, I get it, the whole freedom of speech saying that the government can't do it and these are private businesses and all this stuff, but, it's an issue, it's something that needs to be brought up anyway. That, we have, like, all these people, mostly, from what I've seen, on the left, that are hell-bent to defund and deplatform people who have views that are opposed to theirs. And that is bullshit. All right, it is counter to America and what we stand for. For crying out, like, again, freedom of speech and freedom from religion, or of religion, whatever, were in fact the first fucking amendment of the Constitution. Number one was people can basically say whatever they want, except for certain extreme cases. Why? Because free speech is it's sort of like capitalism for ideas. The good ideas gain more popularity when people like them. They are supported by the evidence and by everything else, and like the bad ideas kind of fade away. Like for instance, a couple centuries ago, it was a perfectly normal thought or concept that black people were mentally inferior to white people, that they couldn't, take care of themselves properly, and they were savages, and we're doing them a favor with the whole slavery thing because, give them food and teach them how to talk right and everything. Well, that was a relatively accepted idea or concept. Then the idea of, no, that's wrong, that's stupid came around. And guess which one we have today? Eh? And that came about not because these people were just shut up and shut down, but because they had an inferior idea. I don't know, me personally, I think the problem is, the reason so many people on, honestly, the regressive left, mostly, have issues with people with any opposing opinion, having an ability to voice that opinion is that they have a shit idea too. And I don't really necessarily agree with much of Lauren Southern's points, but it's just like, okay, say we have two bad ideas, what are we going to do here? One's not really going to rise above the other one, so let's get rid of the bad idea that is, competing with our bad idea, and then our bad idea becomes the good idea because there's no competition. And that's what I see happening here. It's just like, you don't, and it's not gonna, long term, it's not gonna work. The idea of like making it commonplace, common practice of finding little workarounds to, abridge or to hamper someone's ability to get their idea out, to speak their mind. It's a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. So when you find yourself with your ideas being out of favor, you don't want people being able to shut you down. But also, that whole instrument of sort of figuring out who's got the better ideas, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, what's good and bad, that gets screwed up. Because we hear one side, but we can't hear the other side and make our own decisions. And yeah, that's all I have on this subject. This video is running a bit long, but fuck it. So, I'm going to go ahead and end here. Go ahead and links will be in the description below. Like, dislike, leave a comment. I'd love to hear what anyone else out there has to say about this subject. And if you haven't done so, hit subscribe for more. And I'll see you next time.